Yo, what's going on guys? HyperX here. Welcome back to another video for Elden Ring, and today I want to talk about patch notes. So I woke up this morning and the game of course has a big patch which addresses a load of bugs, adds some additional features, and also balances some weapons, some items, some skills. So depending on of course the build that you are running, this might either be good for you or you might be like, no, my build is now broken. Either way, I want to go through the most noteworthy ones. In this video, I'm not going to go through absolutely everything. If you guys want to read the full patch notes, I will link them down below. But I want to talk about the most noteworthy stuff. So if you do enjoy this, like would be super appreciated. Comment down below, let me know how you guys are impacted by this patch. And of course, don't forget to keep it locked for plenty more Elden Ring. Got lots of stuff I want to show you guys later on today. Anyway, first things first, let's begin with additional elements they added to the game before we talk about some of the changes and fixes. They added a function to record an icon and the name of an NPC on the map when you encounter that NPC, which of course is very useful for returning to locations. Plus, of course, if you hover over certain locations that have NPCs out there, like for example, merchants, stuff like that, you can of course see them, which makes returning to those locations much more convenient. They also added a new NPC, Jarbern, who of course has his own quest line. They've also added new quest phases for a few additional NPCs, namely Dialos, Nefeli Lu, Kenneth Height, and Gatekeeper Gostok. So hopefully you guys still have them alive in your game and haven't decided to kill them. If you have, then, well, I don't know what to say to you. That being said, additionally, they have also added some summonable NPCs in multiple situations. They've increased the number of patterns of objects that players can imitate when using the Mimic's Veil, one of my favourite items, and they've also added night background music for the open field area. So those are additional things they've added to the game as a result of this patch. So obviously if you guys want to jump in and do some more quests, then you can do so. However, following off from there are of course plenty of bug fixes again. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I do want to address a few of the most noteworthy ones. One of these, of course, is that they fixed a bug which causes some weapons to have incorrect scaling after strengthening. Of course, that did apply to the strength weapons, although it seems that they've basically just made it so that the plus 25 is akin to the plus 24, so it might well not necessarily work in your favour. Either way, that seems to have been fixed. However, one of the more noteworthy things is that they have fixed the bug that caused Arcane to scale incorrectly for some weapons. So, of course, you guys may remember there are some weapons that we've obtained, things like the Rivers of Blood or Eleonora's Pole Blade, the sort of dual blade Darth Maul looking weapon. These, of course, had broken scaling on Arcane. This has now been fixed, and some of these are potent. I will of course be doing a video on one of these later on today that you definitely don't want to miss, but that does of course mean if you have been holding on to some nice arcane weapons that you really want to use, now is the time to go back. So this one is huge. And of course any additional weapons that also didn't take advantage of appropriate stat scaling are also supposed to be fixed. So basically, pre-patch, if there were weapons that you weren't using because the scaling was broken, try them again now. It's also worth noting they fixed the bug with the Erdtree Great Shield, allowing it to basically absorb the attack with the incantation to sort of spam out things. That's now been fixed. They also fixed the interaction with Fire's Deadly Sins. You can no longer use that to spread bleed. So of course, you know, as fun as it was for a little bit, it was busted, so they've now fixed that. And of course, there's a few other things as well. But mainly speaking, weapon stat scaling for, of course, some of those items that were previously broken does now open the doors. Now, in addition to this, there have been some balance changes. Again, I'm going to go through some of these, not necessarily every single one. They have, of course, increased the drop rate of smithing stones for some enemies. They added smithing stones to some early game shop lineups. And they also reduced the cost of some of them as well, so it's actually easier to spec up your weapons. They've increased shield's effectiveness, and they've also increased the damage of all offensive cracked pot items. They have decreased the FP consumption for some sorceries, examples being like Star Shower, Rock Blaster, Gavel of Heimer, Founding Rain of Stars. The list is pretty long. I will of course put that again in the description box down below. They have also adjusted the damage and of course the cast time for Hoarfrost Stomp, which of course a lot of people were using to basically just run through bosses. While it was a fun move, it was also pretty broken, so that has been adjusted. They've also increased Ash of War Bloody Slash's self-inflict damage, so of course it will take more from you, whilst also slightly lowering the damage. Honestly, I didn't really feel like that one was particularly... I mean, it was a strong move, don't get me wrong, it was really strong, but I don't feel like it was broken. But anyway, that aside, that's been addressed. They have also decreased the weapon skill Sword of Night and Flames damage, so of course the Laser Beam Flaming Sword, that is still a good weapon, but of course it is not as potent as it once was. And one of the big ones, they have decreased the damage of the Spirit Summon the Mimic Tier Ash, so of course the one that copies you, and they've also changed the Spirit's behavior pattern. Now it's worth noting, this is still fantastic. If you guys have been using it to help you with boss battles, it is still going to be viable. but it's basically worth noting that the AI seems to have been dialed down, so it's far less likely when you summon it to swap weapons. It tends to just sort of take on whatever it is that you had equipped when you summoned it, as opposed to sort of cycling through the arsenal. Sometimes you might see it swapping to like one-handed weapons or two-handed weapons and different things like that, and being a lot more aggressive. Now it is it's still, you know, useful. It will still definitely help you out. It would still definitely carry you through some fights, but it is not as powerful as before. And they've also done some other weapon balance changes, and again, there are a few other things. But those are some of the most noteworthy things, definitely worth calling out. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of some of these. Again, if you want to find the full patch notes list, it is linked down below. And if you haven't caught our most recent upload, be sure to check out this video, and stay tuned for plenty more Elden Ring.